For 2,000 years, the Zytharian Dominion had never suffered defeat. Across 163 star systems and more than 400 conquered worlds, every civilization they encountered had surrendered or been erased. In all that time, no planetary species had ever forced them to hesitate. Now, standing on the command bridge of the flagship Spear of Infinity, Grand Marshal Vorith studied the small blue world growing larger on the main display. 4 red, glowing eyes narrowed with analytical precision as his mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Earth, he murmured. Another primitive world. Another easy victory. His second-in-command, strategist Kelver, stepped forward with a data tablet. Marshal, scouts have completed their sweep. The dominant species calls itself human. Their technology is basic, fragmented across multiple nations. No unified defense network. Vorith let out a dry, rasping laugh. Divided minds. The first symptom of defeat. Kelver hesitated before adding, they do possess high-yield weapons, devices capable of destroying entire cities. Yet, they have never turned them on their own kind. Then they are afraid, Vorith replied. And fear makes surrender simple. Around them, hundreds of Zytharian officers worked silently at glowing consoles. The Dominion's invasion fleet, 4,000 warships and 10 million soldiers, was already positioning itself to encircle Earth. Where the Dominion went, they harvested not only resources but cultures, species, and memories. Entire histories vanished with each conquest. How long until we reach striking distance? 6 hours, Marshal. Transmit the standard ultimatum. And so, across every frequency on Earth, translated into dozens of human languages, the Dominion's message thundered. Human species, you will submit. Resistance will result in extinction. Sirens erupted across Earth. Governments held emergency meetings. Military forces scrambled into formation. But deep down, humanity knew, the Dominion was unlike any enemy they had ever imagined. What the Zytharians did not realize was that Earth was not simply unprepared. For centuries, scattered groups of humans had been finding strange structures buried beneath continents, anomalies inside oceans, and energy signatures that did not follow the laws of physics. And beneath the frozen continent at the bottom of the world, an unregistered facility had been studying something ancient, something that was never human. When the Dominion's ultimatum finally received a response, it did not come from any government, army, or global alliance. It came from a location the Dominion scanners had failed to detect. Deep beneath Antarctic ice. The message was short. Come, fearless. We decline. And we have been expecting you. For the first time in decades, Marshal Vorith felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. Uncertainty. But Vorith did not understand the true meaning of Earth's message. It wasn't defiance. It was an invitation. And the ancient forces waking beneath the ice hungered for far more than war. They hungered for witnesses. The Zytharian armada glided into Earth's orbit like a metal eclipse. Thousands of warships formed a glittering wall across the sky, their weapons charging with a cold mechanical hum. On the command bridge of the Spear of Infinity, Grand Marshal Vorith watched the planet rotate slowly beneath them. Begin precision bombardment, he ordered. Target one of their coastal megacities. Demonstrate power. Kelver hesitated but obeyed. Across the fleet, colossal plasma lances activated, superheated beams capable of turning continents into molten glass. Millions of humans below continued their day unaware that death was descending upon them. The first volley struck. Or rather, it should have struck. The beams halted mid-air, suspending above the city in a rippling dome of translucent light. An invisible barrier shimmered, bending the plasma backward like water recoiling from stone. Vorith stepped forward, eyes wide. That is impossible. The reflected blast launched upward with doubled fury. 14 Zytharian ships vanished in a blaze of annihilation. No shields, no countermeasures, not even time for a scream. Alarms erupted across the bridge. Kelver's voice trembled. Marshal, that defensive field was not generated by any human technology. Its signature predates recorded human civilization. Vorith clenched the rail until his claws dented the alloy. Deploy ground forces. If the sky is guarded, then we take the world from the surface. Thousands of troop carriers plunged toward Earth's atmosphere. And then the real disaster began. The first carrier over Asia reported navigational corruption. Mountain ranges appearing where oceans should be, gravity fluctuating, controls responding to commands that no one issued. Moments later, the vessel slammed into a hillside at terminal velocity. Another carrier over Europe halted mid-flight. The crew reported whispers in their minds, voices speaking in languages older than human tongues. Some soldiers dropped to their knees, weeping without understanding why. The pilot landed the ship in a field and refused to move, repeating one phrase. "They showed me what I've done." Over the Atlantic, 3 cruisers went dark entirely. No explosions. No mayday signals. Just silence. Recovery teams boarded the first cruiser to investigate. What they found froze even the hardened Scytherian soldiers. The crew was alive. Every single one of them. Eyes open. Staring. Unresponsive. Their minds trapped in nightmares so intense that brain activity registered as prolonged psychic overload. Kelver whispered, horrified. "They're dreaming in terror, and from their perspective they've been trapped for years." Vorith felt something cold crawl beneath his armored skin. Earth was not defending itself. Something else was defending it. And whatever it was, it did not see the Scytherians as conquerors. It saw them as prey. But the nightmares were only the beginning. Deep beneath Earth's oceans and ice, ancient forces were awakening fully, and they were preparing to reveal themselves to the invaders. For the first time in his long military career, Grand Marshal Vorith felt the unfamiliar grip of fear. Not the fear of defeat, but the fear of encountering something beyond logic, beyond warfare, beyond the Dominion itself. Reports flooded the bridge of the Spear of Infinity. Troop carriers vanishing from sensors. Soldiers falling into silent, unshakable trances. Entire crews trapped inside psychic storms. Ghostly energy readings pulsing from deep within Earth. But the worst of it was the silence. Earth's armies did not fire a single shot. They simply watched. And waited. Desperate for understanding, Vorith summoned the Dominion's leading xenologist aboard the flagship. Scholarmind Salix, a brilliant and unervingly calm analyst who specialized in civilizations older than written history. For 3 days, Salix locked herself in the science chamber, analyzing every anomaly, every intercepted human transmission, and every energy ripple from the planet's surface. When she finally entered the bridge, even Vorith noticed her trembling. "Marshal," she said quietly, "you must prepare yourself. Everything we assumed about Earth is wrong." Vorith snapped, "Explain." Salix activated the holoscreens. Images appeared of impossible architecture buried beneath ice sheets, colossal doorways carved into black stone, spiraling tunnels descending toward Earth's core, and monolithic constructs lying dormant under oceans. "Earth is not a young world," Salix said. "Multiple civilizations existed before humans. Millions of years before." Vorith folded his arms. "That is not unusual. Many worlds have ancient ruins. These are not ruins, Marshal. And they are not dead." She zoomed into an image of a vast chamber beneath Antarctica, glowing with non-physical energy. These structures are active defense systems. Not machines, entities. Some exist partially outside physical dimension. Some are sentient. Some may have created the barrier that reflected our weapons. Vorith leaned forward. "You're telling me humans made alliances with these things?" Salix shook her head. "No. Humans are not their allies. They are simply the species living on the surface right now. These entities do not defend humanity." She paused. "They defend Earth. The planet itself." Kelver spoke hesitantly, "But if these beings protected earlier civilizations, why did those civilizations vanish?" Salix met his gaze with haunted eyes. "Marshal, they didn't vanish." A chill spread across the bridge. "Some of them," she continued, voice thin, "are still here. Still awake. Still watching. Hidden in oceans, buried in caverns, weaving through dimensions. We disturbed them when we approached." She displayed a final recording, intercepted from the Antarctic facility. A human voice whispered urgently. "They have agreed to intervene. But they do not see the invaders as enemies, they see them as sustenance." Vorith's mandibles tightened. This was not war. It was feeding season. And as the Scytherian fleet struggled to understand what they had awakened, Earth's deepest chambers stirred, and something impossibly old began rising toward the surface. Grand Marshal Vorith had been attempting to rest, though sleep had become nearly impossible. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt a presence, vast, ancient, patient, pressing against the edges of his mind like a tide rising against glass. When he finally abandoned sleep and stepped into the corridor, he froze. The 2 elite guards who always stood outside his door were gone. Not dead. Not injured. Simply gone. Their weapons lay on the floor exactly where they had stood moments earlier. Their armor, still clasped, still warm, had collapsed inward, empty. "Bridge," Vorith barked into his communicator, "status report." Static. Then a trembling voice. Marshal, something is happening on every deck. People are vanishing. Without warning. No energy discharge. No intruder. They're just disappearing. Vorith sprinted toward the bridge. The hallways were empty, meals abandoned mid-bite, doors left open, equipment flickering unattended. It felt as though the ship had been evacuated in a single heartbeat. Only it hadn't. On the bridge, 7 officers remained out of 40. Their faces were drained of color. Kelver approached, voice cracking. Marshal, we have lost contact with nearly half the fleet. No explosions. No distress calls. Ships simply go quiet. And on those still online, entire crews are vanishing. As he spoke, one of the technicians standing behind him vanished mid-breath. One moment she was there. The next moment, her uniform slumped onto the floor empty. A silent, suffocating dread settled over the bridge. How many lost? Vorith whispered. Over 1,000 ships, Kelver answered. Nearly 3 million personnel. Gone. Before Vorith could respond, a transmission forced its way onto the main display. A Zytharian captain appeared, trembling uncontrollably. Marshal, it's on my ship. I can't see it, but I can feel it moving. Every room it enters, everyone disappears. They scream, only for a moment. He looked over his shoulder, eyes widening. It's coming for the bridge. It's... The transmission cut instantly. Another red indicator appeared on the fleet map. Another silent ship. Across the bridge, the temperature dropped. The lights flickered. When they came back on, 2 more officers had vanished. Kelver grabbed Voritha's arm. Marshal, we cannot fight this. We cannot run. What do we do? Vorith had no answer. For the first time in Dominion history, a commander of his rank felt powerless. His breath shook as he whispered, we record everything. Maybe someone, someday, will understand what happened here. But even as he said it, he felt it. A mental pressure, immense and curious, sliding through his thoughts as if rifling through pages of a book. The ancient presence was close now. And hungry. As the fleet collapsed into silence and shadow, the ancient force beneath Earth finally lifted its veil. Ready to claim the invaders not as enemies, but as possessions. The bridge of the Spear of Infinity trembled as if gripped by an unseen tide. The lights dimmed to a faint pulse, matching the rhythm of something vast and awake beneath Earth's crust. Grand Marshal Vorith steadied himself, though his claws shook uncontrollably. Around him only 4 officers remained. The others had vanished without sound, without resistance. Without even the dignity of being killed. Kelver's voice cracked. Marshal, whatever this is, it's not attacking us. It's taking us. Vorith swallowed hard. He had faced black hole storms, telepathic predators and star-consuming machines. Nothing had ever touched his mind. Until now. A pressure, immense and ancient, pressed against his consciousness. Not hostile. Not wrathful. Simply curious. Begin final recording, Vorith ordered. If this is the end of the Dominion, then someone must know how we fell. Red lights flickered across the display as ship after ship went silent. Every empty vessel drifted like a tomb through orbit. Vorith activated the log. This is Grand Marshal Vorith of the Zytharian Dominion. We came to conquer Earth. We believed the humans weak. We were wrong. Behind him, another officer vanished with a soft rustling of collapsing armor. Vorith continued. There is something alive beneath this world. Many somethings. Older than humanity. Older than our empire. They defend this planet, and we woke them. He gripped the console as another psychic wave brushed his thoughts. They are not killing us. They are collecting us. Kelver collapsed to his knees, head in his hands. Marshal. I can see them, he whispered. They're pulling at our minds like threats. Studying every memory. Every conquest. Every cruelty. Vorith turned as the last officer vanished, armor clattering empty to the floor. Only he remained. The presence now filled the entire bridge. Darkness swallowed the lights. Then, a single whisper, not spoken aloud, bloomed inside his skull. We keep what threatens our world. You came to take. So now, you belong to us. Vorith gasped as visions flooded him. Millions of Zytharians suspended in a void that wasn't empty. Awake and aware yet unable to speak. Held in a timeless space where consciousness stretched into eternity. He felt himself slipping. Not dying, but being unmade and remade as a thing to be catalogued, preserved, and never released. No, he breathed, though the word fell into the void. The presence wrapped around his mind like a hand closing around an insect. And then, He was gone. Only the empty flagship drifted in orbit, silent and eternal. Months later, human science vessels arrived. Inside the derelict Dominion fleet they found functioning ships, full logs, warm meals, empty uniforms, not a single body, and one recording. Voritha's final message looping endlessly. Across Earth, leaders panicked, scientists argued, religions split. But only one place understood fully. Deep beneath Antarctica, Director Elena Ward stood before a living wall of ancient matter. It pulsed like a heartbeat. A mental voice filled her mind. The hunger has been eased. Your world is safe, for now. She bowed her head. We thank you. Do not. We did not act for you. We acted for Earth. You are merely its newest caretakers. The presence retreated into the depths once more. Humanity was safe, but not because they were strong, because Earth was claimed. But peace never lasts. Far beyond the Milky Way, in the dark between galaxies, something else stirred, something even the ancient ones feared. An Earth would be needed for what was coming. News of the Zytharian Dominion's disappearance traveled slowly across the stars, but it did travel. World by world, system by system, scattered species that had lived in chains for generations finally lifted their heads. On the jungle world of Cora, former slaves felt their shock collars deactivate on the same day. On the crystal moons of Velen 5, the sound of the Dominion's patrol ships ceased for the first time in a century. Across 64 sectors, silence spread, a silence that felt like the drawing of breath before a scream. The empire that had ruled them all was simply gone. No war, no rebellion, just emptiness. And in that emptiness, fear grew. Far from Earth, in the fractured star cluster known as the Riftward Expanse, a council of free worlds convened for the first time in recorded history. Representatives from dozens of species gathered inside a hollowed asteroid, its core converted into a shimmering council chamber. The meeting began with a trembling voice from the insectoid scholar Revtal of the Xerii. We have decoded the transmission from Earth. The Zytharian fleet did indeed vanish. Not destroyed. Taken. A ripple of unease moved through the chamber. A reptilian warlord slammed a clawed fist onto the table. If Earth has such power, they could enslave us all. A crystalline being chimed sharply. No. Their message was clear. They do not threaten us. Then what do they want? Someone demanded. Silence. Finally, an elderly mammalian sage whispered. They want us to stay away from the thing that protects them. And after what happened to the Dominion, I advise we obey. But one voice was missing. The representative from the shadowed world Kalis Prime, a species known for their secrecy, had remained silent throughout the meeting. Only when the others finished did the Kalan envoy rise. Its body flickered with shifting darkness. We have studied the energy signatures that consumed the Zytharian fleet, the envoy said. They match ancient warnings. Warnings older than any empire. Older than our galaxies. The chamber leaned in. What is it? The Kalan envoy extended a long finger, conjuring a holographic display, a swirling darkness between galaxies pulsing like a heart. In the void between spirals, the envoy whispered, there exists a hunger. A presence only described in myth. The ancients on Earth are not the only watchers. There is another. Something far older. Something that feeds not on bodies, but on civilizations. A collective shudder passed through the delegates. And now, the envoy concluded, whatever lives in that darkness, has noticed Earth. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Director Elena Ward stood in the Antarctic chamber as the ancient being stirred faintly beneath the ice. Elena Ward, the presence murmured, prepare your people. Something approaches the void. And when it comes, even we may not be enough. Elena's blood ran cold. What is coming? The presence paused. Then a whisper. Your future. Across the dark between galaxies, something vast shifted. A cosmic predator turning its attention toward a small blue world glowing softly in the void. Earth had been protected once. The next time, it might stand alone. The meeting chamber beneath Antarctica, an ancient construct older than humanity, hummed with low, resonant energy. Director Elena Ward stood at the center of the crystalline floor, staring at projections shimmering above her. Star maps, gravitational waves, traces of unknown energy signatures moving between galaxies. The Ancient One's voice echoed in her mind, calm, layered, impossibly vast. The Dominion awakened us. But something else is stirring beyond the galactic rim. You must prepare. Elena's heartbeat quickened. Humanity had barely survived the Zytharian invasion, and only because the planet had intervened. Without the Ancient Ones, Earth would already be a cinder. What exactly is stirring out there? Elena asked. Is it a species? A force? A weapon? The presence responded in a whisper of shifting tones. We do not know. We only feel its movement. Its hunger. Before Elena could respond, alarms sounded throughout the chamber, something she had never heard before. Human technicians rushed to the consoles. Director. We're receiving a signal, long-range, non-dominion. We've never seen this frequency. Elena moved to the main terminal. Origin. The technician swallowed hard. Unknown world, or multiple worlds. The signal is being relayed through abandoned Zytharian networks. The hologram flickered alive. Dozens of faces appeared, scaled, furred, crystalline, luminescent. Species from across the former dominion. Oppressed civilizations now free, and terrified. A representative with shimmering blue fur stepped forward on the projection. We are the Council of Reclaimed Worlds, she said. Our systems have detected the disappearance of the Zytharian fleet. And more importantly, we have detected whatever consumed them. A crystalline envoy added, voice vibrating like shattered glass. We do not seek war with Earth. We seek answers. Elena exhaled. This was inevitable. Earth did not destroy the Zytharians, she said evenly. And we do not control the force that did. But we are willing to share what we know. The representatives exchanged wary glances. A towering reptilian war chief leaned in. Then listen to us, human. Something vast moves in the void between galaxies. Zytharian sensors detected it centuries ago but dismissed it as noise. We now understand, it was sleeping. And now? Elena asked. The war chief's eyes darkened. It is waking. Silence filled the chamber. Then the Ancient One's voice echoed, not just to Elena, but through the entire communication network, penetrating every channel as easily as air. If you wish to survive what is coming, you must stand together. The entire council froze. The being beneath Earth had spoken to all of them. Elena steadied herself. Then let this be our first act as allies, she said firmly. We pool our knowledge. We prepare for what's coming. And we make sure the next invasion isn't the last chapter of the galaxy. The representatives nodded, some fearful, some determined. A new alliance was forming. Not of war. Not of conquest. But of survival. Far beyond the galactic rim, in the silent cold between galaxies, a ripple spread across the void. As if something enormous had taken its first breath in a billion years. And its eyes were turning toward the newborn alliance of Earth. The newly forged alliance of reclaimed worlds began transmitting data across secured channels. Scans, ancient myths, sensor echoes, fragments of Zytharian archives. In Antarctica, Director Elena Ward and her team spent sleepless nights decoding the incoming flood of information. Every species had noticed the same phenomenon. A massive gravitational disturbance moving between galaxies. Not natural. Not random. Deliberate. And approaching. No one knew what it was. Until the message arrived. At 2:11 Earth Standard Time, the Antarctic chamber trembled. Not from movement, but from resonance. The crystalline walls dimmed. The air thickened. And the Ancient One beneath Earth stirred with unmistakable alarm. Elena Ward, the voice said sharply. A transmission has entered your star system. Elena shot upright. From where? From no physical coordinates. It originates outside spacetime. The technicians stared at their screens as a signal, simple, rhythmic, cold, hit every receiver on Earth and the allied worlds. It wasn't a spoken language. It wasn't sound. It was math. A mathematical pattern older than galaxies, repeating endlessly like a heartbeat. Humans attempted to decode it. So did the freed species from the former dominion. But something or someone decoded it first. The Ancient One. Its voice rippled through the chamber. This is a declaration. The room's temperature dropped below freezing. Elena whispered, a declaration of what? The presence answered slowly, almost reluctantly. Territorial claim. A chill crawled up Elena's spine. You mean, a warning? No, the Ancient One said. A notice. A statement. A promise. The mathematical pattern shifted. New variables appeared. Curves representing star clusters. Coordinates marking empty regions of space. Then finally, a symbol representing Earth. The signal stabbed downward into the graph like a spear. The Ancient One interpreted the message in full. This region of space is marked for consumption. Prepare for reclamation. The chamber erupted in panic. Technicians shouted. consoles overloaded. The holographic star maps swirled with dark shapes. Elena forced her voice steady. Who is sending this message? The Ancient One grew silent. Then, a species older than stars. A species we once fought and failed to destroy. A species that does not conquer. It consumes. Elena stared up at the fractal ceiling, unable to breathe. You said it slept. It did, the Ancient One answered. But the annihilation of the Zytharian Dominion woke it. It has smelled weakness. It has smelled life. The presence paused, then delivered its final warning. You have years, not centuries. Prepare your world. Prepare your allies. For when it arrives, even we may fall. In the frigid void between galaxies, a colossal shadow unfurled. As if a sleeping god had risen and stretched its limbs across the cosmos. Earth was no longer merely a world. It was prey. The night sky above Earth changed long before humanity realized why. Stars dimmed in subtle patterns. Constellations warped by fractions of degrees. Gravitational waves rippled across continents like faint, silent earthquakes. These were the first signs. The signs that the devourer, the ancient cosmic predator awakened in the galactic void, was drawing closer. But Earth was no longer alone. In Antarctica, the subterranean chamber pulsed with radiant energy. Director Elena Ward stood surrounded by holographic projections sent from the Alliance of Reclaimed Worlds. Each newly freed species had contributed something. Defensive technology. Star maps untouched by Dominion hands. Relics of dead civilizations. Warnings carved on stone or crystal or memory. And most importantly, hope. The Council representatives appeared on a shimmering display above her. A crystalline envoy spoke first. Elena Ward of Earth, our fleet stand on alert. If the devourer reaches your star, we will face it together. A reptilian war chief added. No empire remains to command us. But unity we choose. Slowly, dozens of heads nodded across the stars. For the first time in galactic history, a united alliance existed without fear or coercion. Elena felt a weight in her chest. Not fear. Responsibility. With all our differences, she said quietly, we survived the Dominion. Now we stand against something far older. We may not win. But we won't surrender. The chamber brightened as the Ancient One stirred beneath the ice. Its voice filled not only Elena's mind, but every allied ship, every council hall, every inhabited moon connected through the network. You have taken your first step. You have chosen unity. Elena stood tall. Will you fight beside us? She asked. Pause. Heavy. Ancient. Then. We will defend the planet. But beyond Earth's orbit, the battle is yours. The devourer is not our enemy. It is our opposite. A shiver passed across every species listening. Elena whispered, then what are we to it? The Ancient One answered. A possibility. The entire chamber fell silent. Then the Ancient One offered its final message to all allied species. Do not fear the darkness. You were not born to be consumed. You were born to reshape the future. The ground trembled. The walls glowed. And for the first time since the Zytharian invasion, the Ancient One opened the chamber's skyward portal. A spiraling column of energy piercing upward through the ice. Above Antarctica, a beam of living light erupted into the heavens. Earth's night sky shimmered as if waking from an ancient slumber. On the far side of the Milky Way, the devourer paused. It had noticed, and Earth answered not with silence, not with fear, but with a beacon, a declaration, a challenge, a promise. The galaxy would not die quietly. Centuries later, explorers would scan the deep void where the devourer once stirred, and find only silence. Some said the Alliance defeated it. Others whispered that the Ancient One sealed it away. But historians agreed on one truth. Everything changed the day a small blue world refused to be prey. Earth's story had not ended. It had only just begun.